What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zoe with Wnba Dfs here to bring you another WNBA slate breakdown for the two-game slate we got today. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, this slate is not sexy by any means whatsoever. It's honestly a mid-level slate, kind of like that one-game slate we had earlier this week when the Aces were playing, and I said go light. It's gonna be the same thing on today. We got literally 4 teams on the slate where it's just like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. One game, you kind of expect it to be a blowout. The other game, you don't know what you're going to get between one of the teams. So it's middle and waters. I would definitely say bankroll management is the way to go on today's slate. With that being said, let's get into it. If you're new here and you're enjoying the content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any uploads or anything. I'm also dropping YouTube shorts with plays and picks and stuff like that now. So definitely, you don't want to miss that content. Drop a like if you're enjoying this information, and let's get right into it. 2 games on the slate. We got the Fever taking on the Aces, which, of course, this will be the game. Like I always say, whenever the Aces are on the slate, we can predict a blowout. Might. Especially since they're playing at home. Young Fever team. You never know what you're going to get night in, night out with them. You're playing against defending champs. Of course, we expect the Aces to win. Of course. They're off a rest. They're playing at home. It's one of those games where we could probably expect that again today. For the Fever, Grace Berger and Vivian's game time decisions really kind of doesn't matter. As long as the starting lineup is intact, that's really what we care about for them. And then over to the Aces side, Raquana Williams is a game time decision, unlikely to play once again. I believe it's something going on with her back. And of course, it's the same 5 starters that they got on this stacked team. Going over to the Phoenix Mercury, biggest thing is that we know Brittney Griner is expected to play today. With that being said, Diana Taurasi is also expected to play today. And I have this personal running theory that there was nothing really wrong with Diana Taurasi. They just didn't want to play her if Brittney Griner was not going to be playing. That's literally what I think, because just diving down the conspiracy theory here real quick, all of a sudden, Brittney Griner, she's not playing, hip is out. Literally right before the game tips off, Diana Taurasi has a hamstring injury or something like that. She's out. She's gone. Brittney Griner was game time decision for the following game. Soon as Brittney Griner was ruled out, DT was ruled out. So I really just kind of feel like that's kind of what they really were doing. I personally do not think anything was actually wrong with Diana. I really just feel like they were just playing it safe for if Brittney wasn't playing, they didn't want to play DT. That's just my thought process. And that's kind of how I'm personally going to build a little bit. So it's going to be a little contrarian where how I look at the Phoenix Mercury, especially with their minutes and everything, especially Diana's minutes in regards to that. On the other side, the Storm, the biggest thing, I was trying to find some information on it. I couldn't find anything. But Horston left that last game with a shoulder injury. With that being said, when she left, it really relied more onto the starting lineup. They got some pretty heavy minutes. I even have that pulled up on the Seattle Storm. Their minutes from the last game going against the Fever. Horston only played 11 minutes. Granted, she was playing off the bench anyway, but she plays a significant amount of minutes for them off the bench. With that being said, we saw Ivana get 37 minutes, which she hasn't played that at all season. Easy, she went back up to 38 minutes. Jewel Lloyd played 37 minutes. Kia Nurse got 29 minutes. And, 29 minutes in a game where how many DraftKings did she actually put up in that game as well? She put up 16.3 fantasy points. So you already know that Nurse really wasn't doing too much out there in the first place, but because someone got injured, they had to give the minutes somewhere to that position. And typically, that's why we normally see Horston. She would gobble up all those minutes that Nurse normally plays anyway. Because if Nurse is off, Nurse isn't really going to play. And then Mercedes Russell, of course, they got her back in the starting lineup, so she's playing a decent amount of minutes. And again, I would expect her to play here with Brittney Griner starting. You're going to want that size and stuff out there on Brittney Griner. So just looking at it as a whole, these teams, they met earlier in the season. They played on June the 13th. We could probably take a little bit from this game, but not too much personally, because I think some things have changed in regards to rotations and how everything is playing out for these other teams. One of the biggest things is going to be the fact that Mercedes Russell, she's back in the starting lineup, and I don't see that changing for them at all. And then just the rotation for Horston and what that's going to be like for them. And everything. So interesting slate. Like I said, playing light, not really going to go too heavy. But nonetheless, it's a WNBA slate, so you know we got to break it down. Going over to the King, the site that I play the most on. And if you guys are wanting to join me over here on DraftKings, check the link down in the description below so you can get that deposit match bonus so you can come over here and win this money on the King too. All right, starting with the first game. On the Fever side, we already know Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith, your 2 primary bigs that you're going to look at. Now, when these teams, they played earlier in the season, playing on the Fever's home court, Boston, she played 22 minutes and she only gave us 14.5 fantasy points. This is a spot where she could possibly bounce back. Definitely going to be a GPP play, not someone that I'm going to be very high on. the Aces, they're decent actually at finning the center and power forward position with Candace Parker and Asia Wilson out there. Granted, Boston might have just went out here and had a bad game. Just couldn't live up to the hype in regards to it right here. She's been playing pretty decently over the past several games. We know that she did have that calf injury for 2 games, but looked pretty fine in their last game that they went out going up against the Storm. So I'm not gonna hold that she's injured or anything like that. Definitely a GPP for me because, again, blowout possibility. I am going to weigh that into it. You're playing on the road. Maybe you might save them a little bit. All these type of factors go into it. And at 10-6, I'm going to want her to at least give me that 30-plus fantasy point prospect that she can give us. But I'm kind of feeling low 20s for her here in this spot. Not going to really expect her to pop off in that. Same thing for Nalissa Smith. Playing against the Aces, she played 27 minutes, gave us 24.25 fantasy points. It's just going to be a tough matchup right there going up against both Candace Parker and Asia Wilson right there in this position. Last time out going up against them, like I said, she gave us 24. Last season, she had 2 pretty decent games, but forwards going up against the Aces, they're really only giving us, 32.2 fantasy points per game. I just feel like it's just going to be a tougher spot for both Boston and Smith to go out here and actually do anything. Now, GPP-wise, they definitely do make really great plays because if they're going to be in this game with Kelsey Mitchell, going to have a pretty tough matchup going up against Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, and Kelsey Plum at the guard position. You're kind of going to want your bigs to step up in this position and spot. So you can definitely play both of them in a GPP. Kelsey Mitchell is definitely the ultimate GPP play right here. Not someone that I run and flock to. Last time at home, she dropped 33.5 fantasy points, popped off for 22 points and 3 assists. Now, this was a game that they actually went toe-to-toe with the Aces. Actually made them actually play their starters pretty significant and deep minutes. Now, on the road, playing against, tougher matchups and things like that, we have seen that the Fever, they're figuring it out, but they got to figure it out against the defending champs. And I kind of really don't see that happening right here. This might be me being closed-minded on that, but really the Fever, all of them are going to be GPP plays for me in this instance. Maybe Erica Wheeler, I might be able to come down here and play this. She's been pretty consistent over her last several games. And in that game going up against the Aces, she played 24 minutes and gave us 20.25 fantasy points. She'll be in consideration, but not someone that I'm rushing and running to at 7K. I honestly would rather spend for the guards that we have in the next game, the Phoenix Mercury and the Storm, because they're in some very prime spots, both of them on both sides of that game. And then, of course, if I'm going to ever pay for any guard, it's going to be coming from the Aces side. It's going to be Jackie Young, just because of how consistent and great she is when she's out there on the floor. But everyone over here, really not too much for me. Maybe if she was to miss, which I want to say she missed that last game that they played, which, yeah, she was doubtful playing up against the Storm. Maybe you might be able to run to someone like Lexi Hull or Wallace, if Vivian's is going to be out. Wallace, she's been playing pretty decent. Played 23 minutes in that last game, dropped 25 fantasy points. And then last time against the Aces, she played 28 minutes, only gave 11 fantasy points. So bounce back spot for her as well. If she can go ahead and continue to stuff the stat sheet like what she's been doing over these past several games, definitely someone that we can consider. Sitting at 6,300, definitely a pay down spot instead of paying for like Erica Wheeler or something like that. Again, the Fever are not in a sexy position to want to shove them into lines. So they will be ultra contrarian whenever it comes down to it. Definitely would not suggest them for the cash games if you're running it and looking at it like that. Over on the Aces side, of course, you can't go wrong with the starting 5 with Asia, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Plum, Parker. Of course, the safe one for me, and always will be the safe one, is going to be Jackie Young. Just the fact of what she's going to go out there and do, night in, night out basis, her scoring, her rebounding, her assists, the steals, and block upside that she has as well. And then we know she is a 3-point sniper. She's going to get her threes up no matter what. Last time against the Fever, 35 minutes, she only gave us 30 fantasy points, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Still a decent day, decent night for her. Sitting at 9,400, I don't hate going to her if I'm having to pay up for a guard on the side. Of course, you could take the $100 savings, come down here to Kelsey Plum, who we do know if her shot is falling, she's going to go out there and deliver for you. Going up against the Fever last time, 20 fantasy points in 33 minutes. So, of course, as I always say, she is the GPP option when it comes down between the two. But Jackie Young definitely would be my consideration. Candace Parker has looked actually pretty well on the defensive side and putting up some numbers in regards to her assists and her rebounds. At 9,100, not the sexiest number that I would go to, considering that is pretty hefty of a price for someone who's only playing 24 to 23 minutes a game. But on an ugly slate, maybe you can consider it. I would definitely rather look at the forwards in the next game before I have to go to a Candace Parker. If I'm going to go with any of the forwards, of course, it's going to be Asia Wilson, who is sitting up here at a hefty 11-3. Last time in this spot going up against them, 36 minutes, she dropped 58.5 fantasy points. Of course, I'm going to be on that. The fantasy point per minute production, we haven't truly seen that from her because they're killing everybody. They're not really having to rely on Asia like they were last season, and she's just having just these I'll say floor games. They're not ceiling games by any means. She's having floor games out here on a night in, night out basis. Still, definitely someone that we can go to and consider. Of course, cash games. There's nothing wrong with playing Asia. And if you're looking for a prize pick prop, I'm very heavily on her first half fantasy points. It's sitting at 21.5 over on prize picks. If you don't have an account and you want one, check the link down in the description below so you guys can get that deposit match bonus and sign up and go ahead and play over here on the prize picks. I will be dropping a power 2 later on today and maybe a 6 pick. Definitely you want to stay tuned for that as well. But you can't go wrong with Asia, as always. Definitely will be consideration. If we're expecting this game to blow out, of course, you're going to want to look at Stokes and Clark. Clark, she's been very consistent in regards to the minutes she's getting. She's getting at 22 to 23 minutes. So pretty much her and, of course, Candace Parker, they're splitting the minutes and time at that forward position. So someone that we can look to. In 18 minutes going up against the Fever, she only gave us 12.75 fantasy points. She's not going to get you a 0. She's at least going to get you about 10 to 15 fantasy points. Definitely in consideration, sitting at 5-4 in the matchup that they're going up against. And then, she's sitting at 5-3. And then Stokes, with the block and steal upside that she has in the rebounding, definitely can consider her as well. 19 minutes, she only gave us 2.5 fantasy points going up against the Mercury. That's definitely a little bit of concerning. I would rather go with Clark, if I being honest, in regards to that. But yeah, that's a little weird. Going over to the Phoenix Mercury side and the Storm, looking at this game, like I said, I already gave my conspiracy theory in regards to it. I really do just feel like Diana Taurasi, she was fine. They just didn't want to play her because they did not have Brittany Griner. With that being said, Diana Taurasi, she is in a pretty good matchup going up against the Storm. And this was the last game that she played. She only played 23 minutes in that game and gave us 7.5 fantasy points. She wasn't on from 3. Nothing was falling, none of that stuff right there. Now, she's had all of this time to be off. She's been off all of this time. We know that she's been able to have some pretty big games dating back to whenever Bird and Stewie were playing on this team right here. So we know Taurasi, she can get up if she has to get up for a game. And then just looking at her history, last season going up against them, she dropped a 59 burger, a 35, and a 28 fantasy point type games going up against them. If we can get this 35, which was on Seattle's home court for her, I definitely will take that as a low-owned play. She's sitting at 8-7 on today. We know typically she's up there in the higher 9K to 10K range whenever she's on and she's popping. We can go ahead and buy low. I'm personally not going to be scared of this hamstring thing. I don't believe it. I really do question it to the T. I really just felt like it went hand in hand with Brittany Griner. And then Brittany Griner sitting at 10-1. Of course, you can go right back here. She's going to be playing against Mercedes Russell. Hopefully that hip is good and maybe she can come out there and actually snag some rebounds, which she has not been doing. She played 9 minutes in that Storm game, only gave us 7 fantasy points. Of course, still, that's almost a fantasy point per minute in regards to what she did. They might ease her back in. They might not. I'm at least going to expect about, I'll say 25 to 30 minutes for her. Kind of what she played to start the season. She played 25 minutes in that opener against the Sparks. That's kind of what I'm going to expect her to be between that 25 to 30 minutes range. And still she could put up a fantasy point per minute, especially when the forward position isn't really the sexiest thing that we have on today's slate with the Fever and the Aces in regards to who we have to pay up for. With Brittany Griner being back and Diana Taurasi, that helps the role players that they have on the team, and Sophie Cunningham, Shug, and Onion. We already got news that Petty is going to be out, so I would expect Shug to get a pretty decent hefty amount of minutes, and same thing for Mariah Jefferson, who's down here at 5'8". The starting lineup is definitely going to be something I want to pay attention to because I know that Mariah Jefferson, she's been in and out of the starting lineup. Same thing with Shug. Shug, she's been in and out of the starting lineup. So depending on who they actually start is going to get the boost in regards to what they can go out here and do. I would expect it to be Shug because she's been playing so well in this role. Anyway, the assist upside has been there for her. Last game going up against the Aces, she didn't really show her assist upside. She was out there scoring and knocking down some shots. Now, if she can go ahead and do both in regards to her scoring and get the easy assist that she was getting prior to before Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi being out, I definitely will appreciate that sitting at 8-1 in a matchup that should go toe-to-toe and can be back and forth as long as the Phoenix Mercury actually come to play today. I definitely will have some interest in Shug. Cunningham, she's a little bit lower on the the poll for me in regards to what she goes out there and does, because if Cunningham's shot is not falling, she's really not doing too much for us. I will have some interest, but she's going to be more of a GPP play if looking at anything. And then Wnba. We've seen her get the start. I expect Brown to turn her no do nothing, go out there, maybe get a couple of rebounds, can't take a shot, can't do nothing to save her life behind, back to the bench. I'm sorry, Brianna, but you don't do nothing. You don't bring nothing to the team. Onion, she's going to be inside the starting lineup once again. And before they went down, Onion was actually looking pretty decent out there. She had a pretty big game out there with Brittany Griner, 32 minutes going up against the Fever, and she dropped 30 fantasy points, 11 points, and 12 rebounds. Now, Brittany Griner really hasn't been rebounding the ball like that, but Onion was picking up that slack for her. Everyone else was really picking up the slack in regards to Brittany Griner not rebounding like that. She's boxing out. Everyone else is getting the rebounds. If we can go ahead and we can get that again here today with Onion, of course, she should be matched up with Ezzy. Then maybe she can actually pop off at that 7-4 price tag. I do like her here today. We'll consider her into my lines, but definitely we'll have some interest in her as well as Sutton. And of course, like I said, Brittany Griner and Taurasi. I feel like this is a buy low spot, especially for DT, what she can go out there and do for us. Megan, her minutes are going to go down for the fact that they have, Brittany Griner back, and she's been hit or miss anyway in regards to what she's doing. Yeah, she popped off for that 29 fantasy points. It was a blowout in this game going up against the Aces, but don't expect that again here today unless the coaching staff has seen enough from her in regards to give her some more run. I'm not going to expect that. I'd have to see it since now they have pretty much their full squad back with them today. Thomas, she was just waived today, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Thomas was waived by the Phoenix today, so do not play Sam Thomas. I don't think that she would want to do that anyway. And then also Evander Westbrook, she was also waived, and they signed Jenny Sims. Now I don't know how that's going to affect them. Of course, Jenny is not on anything for today, so you really can't look and see that, but we're gonna have to see if she's gonna actually be someone that gets some minutes and run. I'm not too sure how that's gonna be yet, but definitely something to keep your eye on and pay attention to. Over here on the Storm side, we already know where it starts and begin that with them. It starts with Jewel Lloyd and easy McGregor. Hands down, great spot for Jewel Lloyd. She can go out here and she could probably rain down some threes. You are facing the Phoenix Mercury, who are second in the league in giving up 3-point shots. So Lloyd literally is the WNBA leading scorer right now, averaging 25.5 points a game. I would expect nothing less than 20 plus from her today in this spot going up against the Phoenix Mercury. Last time playing against them, she played 33 minutes, only gave us 17 points, but 31.5 fantasy points. Still, I'm going right back to Jewel Lloyd. It's a great spot. Sitting at 11-1 for a very good reason because of the matchup that she has. Diana Taurasi defense, Shook Sutton defense, that ain't going to scare me from Jewel Lloyd. We just seen what she went out there and she did going up against the Fever, dropped 19 points, 31.5 fantasy points. And then the game before that, going up against the Connecticut Sun, she dropped 33 points. 33 points against a pretty good defensive team and gave us 48.5 fantasy points. If we can get one of her ceiling games today, she's definitely going to be paying off that 11-1 price tag. But if you cannot pay up for Jewel Lloyd, I definitely feel like there's some merit to looking at Ivana. Ivana, she played the most minutes that she has played so far this season. 37 minutes, gave us 31.75 fantasy points. Didn't do too much on the scoring side, but what she's actually able to do, playmaking, rebounding, and playing some defense, all of that matters, and it is very good at 7-2. I cannot ignore that in this matchup that she's playing going up against the Phoenix Mercury. Last time she played 28 minutes and gave us 29 fantasy points. That's pretty much a fantasy point per minute for a player. At 7-2, I will take that all day, every day, if you cannot pay up for Jewel Lloyd. Easy, of course, sitting at 10-4, you're going to feel like it's going to be a tougher matchup for her. Last time she played 34 minutes, gave us 30.25 fantasy points. She's not going to be matched up with Brittany Griner. I'm not worried about that. She's going to either have Onion, Cunningham, or whoever else it is they decide to put on her in this spot. I feel like it's going to be pretty decent for her sitting at 10-4. She might go lower on because people are going to be worried about that Brittany Griner defense or something like that, but not something I worry about. Easy can stretch it out to the 3-point line if she has to. She can actually take some mid-range shot, unlike some other centers out here and power forwards in the league. Not going to worry about her at 10-4. I would still go ahead and play her on this slate. Biggest thing you're going to want to pay attention to, though, is this Horston news, because if Horston is going to be out, I'm going to expect the starters to play pretty heavy minutes. And unfortunately, it's going to thrust Kia Nurse into being into consideration because she's going to have to play the minutes at that 3 spot. She played 19 minutes against the Phoenix Mercury last time, gave us 22 fantasy points. So she didn't do bad out there in her fantasy point per minute time frame, but she's just very hit or miss in regards to what she's going to go out there and do. Now, she is playing a team that gives up a lot of 3-pointers. So if she can get hot from 3, definitely can see her paying off this price tag at 6K. I feel like she'll be lower on, but definitely will be a GPP play, if anything, for me on today's slate. Melbourne, I don't know what she did, but looks like she's kind of out of the rotation. Hasn't really been getting the minutes that she was once before, so not someone I'm going to run to. Whitcomb, I really don't go there. She's GPP hit or miss. And then Mercedes Russell, if you're thinking that she can stay out of foul trouble and stay on the court, at 5'6", definitely worth the gamble for GPPs to fill out your lineup. If you land on it, I don't hate it. I definitely wouldn't mind it if you do land on it. Definitely a player I can consider and going to. That's going to be a breakdown for me today, guys. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any of these uploads. Check the links down in the description below so you can get those deposit match bonuses and join me on the winning team so you guys can make some money. Check the Patreon if you guys want my plays, BK's plays, and all the other information that we have for all other sports. With that being said, it's your boy Zoe.